Hello, good evening, and good morning, depending on where you're zooming in from today. My name is Andrew Chee, Director of Field Development for Market America Canada. It's my pleasure to spend this evening with you talking about a very important and integral part of developing an unfranchised business, but also, an integral part, I feel, in developing a wholesome, lifelong journey, which is networking, adding names to your possibilities list, or some call it making new connections, meeting new friends. It is something that I've had the pleasure, or should I say, I've had the advantage of doing by through building my unfranchised business with Market America. And one of the better things that came out of it was I found that if we had that I had a strong focus. I wasn't the best at it, not the best at anything, but I was willing to learn, willing to grow. And I found that the main benefit of it is that it led me towards a more enriched life, with meaningful connections. And whether we like it or not, possibilities are something that we need to continuously expand. We're either moving forwards or we're moving backwards, and so a good indicator of that is by taking a look at our possibilities list. So I've got a couple of this evening. We're gonna talk through a few items on a few thoughts, ideas, items, and things that I've learned along the years. But we've also got a few thoughts and messages that I'd like to share with you from powerful people that I've been able to borrow from. One of them is Simon Sinek. One of his quotes is saying that life is beautiful not because of the things we see or do, but life is beautiful because of the people we meet. And that is so true. It's really something to think about. It really gives us really puts us in a good spot, and realize how lucky we are to have an incentive, and also have a good reason for us to continue to expand our network, create more connections, and make new friends, with our business in mind. But whether or not this is something that will push your business forward, it also will be something that will enrich and enhance, the journey that we call life. So that's something that I really believe in. Networking, expanding your network, getting to meet more people, really adds more perspective, and who knows, some meaningful connections come along the way. Lord knows I've met a lot of my closest friends today. A lot of them are franchise owners, but some of them are not franchise owners, but I had met through networking, and getting to know more people, initially with thoughts of my unfranchised business in mind. So I just want to start off with that. But let's talk a little bit about why, how this applies to your business as an unfranchised owner. Let's talk about, Market America and Market America Worldwide as I like to think of it as a vehicle, as a car, or as a rocket ship that could take us places. And there's lots of different things that we do in the company to keep fueling our business, like listening to audios or videos from the Market America YouTube channel, attending events and promoting events to our partners so more people can attend events. Trainings is another big one. But all of these things, audios, events, trainings, videos, all of these, are things that fuel what we call the driver. So it's like you're driving on the highway, you're driving your vehicle on the highway. The audios, events, and training is like the coffee that keeps you up, or the awake shot that keeps you going. But what fuels the business, I found, was not the audios, not the events, not the training, but what fuels the vehicle that we're driving from our end is simple. It's names, on a possibilities list. Context and connections are what fuels the vehicle. So, the reason I bring this up is because we can attend as many trainings as we want, and listen to as many audios as we want to. But if we don't have the context and the connections for us to, either talk to about our business model, about the business plan, or about our amazing products, then it wouldn't be able to get us anywhere. It's like we're all fueled up, we're jacked up with coffee, but our car's not moving because we don't have any fuel for the vehicle. So let's just start off with that, and that's how it applies to your business. Now, I also want to mention that we say not all vitamins are created equal. Well, not all names lists are created equal as well. You've probably heard of if you launch your business and you've done your getting started guide with a senior partner, you've probably heard of a top 10s list, or it's right on the first page, where we talk about putting down a list of names of 10 people that we could talk to right away about the business. We could call them up and have them evaluate it, whether it be for themselves or whether we have we see a definite reason that they'd be able to benefit from it, or they'd be able to help us find people that would be looking for something like this. So that's your top 10s list. That's the prospect prospect list that is what we call hot. You're ready to go with that one. But this is also a common mistake. When people launch the business and is asked to make a names list. I did this in the beginning as well. When I was asked to make a names list, a top 10s list, or a prospect list. A prospect list is somebody people who are connections that we know, and they are also ready. They haven't expressed an interest in knowing more information about our business, but we don't have that definite assurance. We're not sure whether it's a solution they're looking for, or whether it's something that they could help us lead to more people. But they have expressed an interest. So that's in a prospect list. So, when I first launched my business, a mistake I made was I assumed that when I was asked to make a names list, I assumed that I had to put down the names of people that I think would be interested in taking a look at the business plan, or I had to make another list of people that I think would be interested to learning about the products that we have. And that was I thought that was my possibilities list. That was my names list that I would use to build my business. But actually, what those are, that is a filtered out version from what we start off with as a possibilities list. What a possibilities list is, ladies and gentlemen, is a list of contacts. Get this, it's a list of contacts that we have means of communicating with. People, meaning people who we have their phone numbers, or we're connected with them on a social media platform, and we are able to send them messages or give them a call. That qualifies people to be on our possibilities list. And the reason we call it that is because we don't know for sure whether it's something that would translate into potential business or not, but it's still just the top of the funnel. It's a possibility. So with that in mind, if you're new and you're a franchise owner and you just launched your business, don't make the mistake that I made. I had a chicken list of 10 people that I knew, and those were all people that I thought, hey, may be interested to look at the business. I wasn't sure. Actually, it wasn't 10; it was far less. It was like about 2 to 6 people that I knew would be that we could call up and ask them to look at the business right away. And typically that is a shorter list. That's what we call that, the top 10s list. But my senior partner, luckily, Max Chen, told me that no, just think of it this way. If I were to give you $100 for each name that you write down on that list, how many names would you write down? And said I write down as many as I could. Didn't matter whether I thought they would be interested or not. And he said that's possibilities list. We want to work through from the possibilities list, have more eyes on it, and we'd be able to identify who your potential prospects are, who your potential customers are, where your top tens are and where everybody else is. And we love everyone for where they're at. And I thought that was vital in helping me categorize the different lists that we have in building an unfranchised business. So remember, the possibilities list, this is just the top of the funnel. And, most people are not qualified in the possibilities list. Most people from the possibilities list are not qualified to evaluate the business yet at this time. And the reason I say that is not because they're not qualified to see it, is because we don't yet know the reason why we want them to take a look at the business. It could be because we want them to evaluate it to see if they know we're the right people. It could be, and we'd have to have a conversation with them to find out whether that's a viable option. It could be, maybe they want to, we learn something from our conversations with them, that a product approach might be beneficial, or it could be timing isn't right and we might revisit them later. But at the end of the day, a possibilities list is just a list that we use to play around with and build rapport and try to find, the prospects where timing is timing is right for them to take a look at the business. So I hope that is helpful in a clarification of what we're doing here tonight, which is adding to the possibilities list. So when we think of it, there's really two main categories of adding more context to our possibilities list. One way is, by doing it in person, somebody that we meet. And if you are in an area where you are meeting people physically, whether it's going out, whether it's playing sports or whatever, if that is safe to do and that's something that you're practicing, then in-person approaches, there are some in-person approaches that you can utilize. If we are in an area that is under movement control or or on lockdown, they call it, where we've got to stay away from conversing, communicating, and being in contact with other people for safety reasons, then a digital approach might be more viable, for us to expand our possibilities list. But I'm going to take some time to go through a couple of examples of these, of both in person and these examples. They're not limited to, the possibilities of getting more possibilities are not limited to these examples. These were just things that I used and that I've learned that some of the top builders in the company have used. One of my favorite ones is sports and hobbies. I got when I first launched my business, I wasn't that well connected in Canada, and when I was asked to put together a possibilities list, after explaining, after my senior partner had explained to me the difference between possibilities and prospects, and he asked me to write down the name of every person that I knew in Canada. It came up to just shy of 30 people. I think it was like 26 or 27 names that I had in my contact list, my possibilities list. Now, most people would have 100 to 300, but I had 20. I came to the country late, and those were that was my entire network, of phone numbers that I had. That was, so a good way for me to build more possibilities was through sports. I played a lot of basketball back in high school. So when I came here in university, I started playing a little bit more basketball here as well. And one thing that I did differently when I wanted to go out and meet, make more friends and meet more possibilities, is play basketball at different gyms, at different times of the week. That way I get more foot traffic, get more exposure to different environments. So that's something that we can do. And I remember one particular incident. I was playing I was playing in a basketball league that was 1 hour away from me, but it didn't make sense to go there. But right before I was about to quit the league, one of our teammates in in that area called and said, hey, my cousin who lives nearby you, wants to play with us this week. Do you think you could pick him up along the way? And right before I was about to tell them that, hey, I don't know if I can drive an hour out to play 4 minutes every week. They told me that, hey, this week, can you drive my cousin over to play as well? It turns out, I thought, hey, that's a new possibility that I got in the car for 2 hours. Grew to build a good relationship with that gentleman, and eventually he became one of my biggest retailers in my group. So you never know when things will pop up and on which angle. It's just the thing is, just be proactive and go out, do things that you enjoy, hobbies or things that you like, and in the process meet people. I think there's a famous saying in our company: don't go out to meet people, meet people while you're out. So that's something to keep in mind. Networking events are a big one as well. It's a preference. Some people prefer professional networking events. Some people prefer social gatherings, and we can attend social gatherings, and get to know some other people, some other people that can enhance, our prospect list as well. I want to talk a little bit about the shot in the dark technique. This was something that we learned from Bonnie Philo when she did a local seminar for us here in Toronto. But Bonnie talks about, hey, she could be lining up, standing in line, and while waiting at the grocery store or wherever, she could just turn to the person next to her, turn to the person behind her, and say, hey, I just want to take a shot in the dark. You look like a very sharp professional, and my business is looking for more people that we can use, that we can get in touch with to expand our distribution. Do you keep your options open? And sometimes people say yes, sometimes people say no, but that's a shot in the dark. And it's better than what's that? Wayne Gretzky says, you miss 100% of the shots that you never take. So that was a cool, really cool, cool thing to learn from Bonnie. But it doesn't always have to be, somebody that you're standing in line with. It could be a waiter, it could be a waitress at a restaurant, and they've had good service. Hey, just taking a shot in the dark here. You've had impeccable service tonight. I thought it was outstanding. My company, my business looks for people like you. Are you keeping your options open? Can we get connected? And that's how she gets a new person on her names list. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But at the end of the day, what do we have to lose? The only thing we have to lose is the opportunity if we don't take it. So that's the shot in the dark technique. And also referrals are a great way of meeting people. Sometimes, we've got those people on our list that we think, hey, absolutely not. They would not be interested in our products or in our business. They wouldn't want to have anything to do with it, but maybe they're well connected. Maybe we can ask them and ask them for referrals in a more and when we're asking for referrals, I found it to be very helpful to be more specific than general, because when you're more specific, it helps them narrow in on certain people on certain people that you're looking for. For example, if you're asking somebody on your names list and say, hey, I've recently came across an opportunity for me to expand my business into the web development space. My company just partnered with a new service provider. I'm wondering if you know anybody in the digital marketing arena. Does anybody come to mind that you can refer me to? Guess what? If we're asking specific like that, they're thinking of the specific type of people, and makes it a lot easier for them to find them without having to ask too many questions. The other route, if we were being general, we say, hey, I'm expanding my business right now. I'm looking for people that can expand with me. Do you know anybody that comes to mind that could help me? then most of the time the response you get is, well, tell me more about what I need to look for. And then they start asking lots of questions. And if we're not comfortable with our answer to what do you do, what is it, and even if we are, if it gets to too many questions, it confuses them, and they end up not having anybody to refer you to. So a good way of using referrals is by zoning in on something specific and seeing if they have the right connections. Another thing that I'd like to make note of referrals is that, for those of us with with growing or decent sized organizations, sometimes a frustration happens when a little bit of friction happens when we're trying to get our partners to lead to more people, or we're trying to get our stable and waiting partners who are here enjoying the benefits of the products to say, hey, get out of your butt and see if you can lead, see if you can put a names list together and lead me to some people. And sometimes it's really difficult to do. It's like pulling teeth. So what I found helpful is and Jim Winkler taught me this. He said, you're building your business. So if you could look at everybody, even the ones in your organization, as a window, not as the person that's going to do it, but as a window or as a door that'll lead you to the person that's going to do it. It's going to have you're going to have a very different perspective, and you're going to move based off of your own, you're going to move at your pace, not depending on other people's pace. And I thought that was very helpful. So remember, if we've got stable and waiting, business partners in our organizations, they're not building yet, we can, just look at them and treat them as an extension of our possibilities list as well. Guess what? The people that they know, they're your people. There are people as well. So I'd use the same method and say, hey, listen, next week, I'm going to be running I'm going to be running a product and a health and wellness event on Zoom, and I really love your opinion. I really love your opinion on who you think would be interested in learning about health and nutrition, specifically joint health. Do you know anybody that I could get in touch with and invite them to this event? The other way of doing it, which is less effective, is asking them to do it and hoping for results, which is, for example, going to a stable and waiting partner and saying, hey, I'm hosting a joint health event next week. Can you invite some people and see who would like to come on? Typically that works sometimes, and sometimes they have some people that come on, but it's less control than if you were to ask specifically and look at them as an extension of your personal possibilities names list. So I hope that was helpful. That's some examples of in person, but also as we talk through digital ways of expanding our network, it's not that different. It's still about building a relationship and finding ways to connect. Online social events are great. It's changed over the last 8 months. About a couple months ago, if I ran an online whiskey tasting event, lots of people would show up and they invite their friends, and we get to meet lots of people and connect that way. But nowadays, it's I don't know what's happened with the expectations on Zoom nowadays. It seems like it's even hard just to get 3 people to come on and have a drink on on Zoom. I guess it doesn't feel the same as having a drink and hanging out in person. But that was something that worked a couple months ago, but doesn't work anymore today, for me at least. So online socials, let's get creative and figure out new ways of doing it. Maybe if we want to stick on that same theme, maybe we might want to include little vials of different beverages that we want to send to people to invite them to an official tasting, official amateur tasting, whatever it is, and maybe that gives them an incentive to come come on. So, we can try our best to be as social as possible while doing, coming up with ideas of doing this online. A partner of mine has, they use, online games, online board games to, online board games that have been adapted to the online environment. They use that to invite people out who are bored, or who are looking for something to do on a Friday or Saturday night. And guess what? They get to, throughout that experience, they get to chit chat, they get to know one another, and they also get to connect and exchange contacts. So, that's another great way of running online socials. Facebook groups, by, if let's say you've got a hobby. One of my hobbies right now, I moved from basketball to eating. I've always been a foodie, but I love cooking and eating now. And guess what? So join different Facebook groups that share recipes, and there's tons of Facebook groups that, I'm Malaysian at heart, and born and raised, and I'm still a citizen of Malaysia. I've joined Facebook groups that will connect me. Sometimes you get sometimes I just miss home, so I've joined Facebook groups that connect me with Malaysians in Canada, and that's another good avenue for us to meet people, get conversations going, and who knows, there might be something in there that could connect us to talk through other things as well later on. So that is, how we can use Facebook groups. I've got a partner that uses social media connections. She doesn't know how to text anymore and doesn't reply to anything on WeChat or WhatsApp. She only knows how to reply on Instagram. So, some people use their social media connections, view profiles, follow one another, and get conversations going digitally to build up their possibilities list. Networking apps are another effective way of doing it. Now, mind you, a lot of, when we're on networking apps, be clear with your purpose. If it's there just to make a friend and meet people, let them know that. If you're there on networking apps and you build your profile up to be a professional networker or recruiter, be upfront with that. We don't want to be sneaky with any of that. I've been on the other end of it with too many companies that are considered, that are multi-level marketing companies, something that we are not. But there's a lot of participants from multi-level marketing that try to recruit you, so to speak, by through networking apps, and just not using best practices. Let's just put it that way. We don't want, it wasn't a good experience, so we don't want we don't want people to ever feel that way if we ever connect with them. So some examples of networking apps are like Shaper, Bumble BFF, WeChat. So apps that could help you meet people that are not in your existing contact list yet. Now, there are professional networking apps. So, it's not just for meeting people to go on dates with. So it's not just Tinder and all that, but there are professional networking apps out there that we can download and use and check out. Last but not least, what I found was helpful with another one of my partners. He's a web center consultant, but he also writes blogs that talk about digital marketing, that talk about one-to-one marketing, that talk about some of our products. He puts these blogs out and does a little bit of search engine optimization to make them rank better. And people, and then he has a link that leads them to his Market America page, where they get to fill up their information for inquiries. So if they liked what they read on his blog and they clicked on that link, it brings them to marketamerica.com/his name, and it would take them to the page where they can fill up their information, where he'll get an email of their name, their email, their phone number when they're inquiring about the business. So it's a pretty cool way of doing it, of setting things up so that prospects could come to you, and potential these names, if they read it and they actually fill it up, these prospects are a little bit more warmer, a little bit warmer than just in the possibilities list, because they have expressed an interest by taking that first step. So those are some of the different ways of digitally adding names to your possibilities list. There's lots more different ways, and this is of course part of the basic five in the prospecting, qualifying, and sponsoring section, which is we're focused more on prospecting. Now, here are a couple tips that I've figured out that works works very well, whether it's digital or in person. Number one, remember, a compliment goes a long way. People don't always remember what you said to them, but they always remember how you make them feel. And when we're complimenting people, we're not making stuff up. We want to be genuine with it as well. If you say, "I like your shoes," really have an interest and like their shoe like really like their shoes. If you because that gives us more things to connect with. That was one way I used to connect with more people that play basketball. I used to see, "Hey, you got some basketball shoes on, I really like them. Hey, by the way, where do you play?" And that gives us a reason to connect. So a compliment goes a long way. And don't sit there trying to expect another compliment back. It's always good to give a compliment that is genuine, and it makes the key with this is anytime you're meeting or conversing with a new person, whether it be in person or online, our goal is we want their day to be better after having met us. So if we keep that in mind, then you're off to a good start. Second is, once there's a compliment and you're getting the conversation started, there are big things that we can get in small talk. So don't shy away from small talk. We want to be good at asking questions and getting them to talk about their favorite topic, which is themselves, the topic they know the most about. So that comes in small talk, and it comes with a series of asking questions. There are different ways, and it's tough to get into it if we haven't done this before. So first, if you're looking at how we can improve small talk, go on Google and search ways I can improve on small talk, or questions I can ask during small talk. And guess what? There's tons of blogs out there that gives us a variety of lists. I don't agree with all of them, but you can pick and choose and look for some ideas that might spark some conversation. So keep that in mind. But whenever in doubt, there's something that we teach in our basic five, which is use FORM, which is an acronym which stands for family, occupation, recreation, or your motivation. And these are just topics that you can talk to someone about, whether you're at a social gathering or whether you're grabbing coffee and getting to know one another. It's great to ask about family. One of the things that's really cool to ask is if I get into the conversation and we're comfortable, so by the way, do you have any siblings? How many are there, and which one are you? I try to find out whether they're the oldest, the middle, or the youngest, because that gives me an insight into a little bit of their personality. And it's not 100% of the time accurate, but it's a fun thing to match and watch out for. Like if somebody's usually the oldest sibling, that usually means they're very organized, and they like to, when we're explaining stuff to them, they like to see the entire framework of it to understand it. But if they're the youngest sibling, usually the main concern, the main motivation for them is they want to be heard more. So we got to give, as long as we give them a platform to let them talk about themselves and share their story, they're going to feel better about it, and they're going to feel more fulfilled. If they're a middle sibling, if they're a middle child, then usually most of the time what that means is their highest incentive or highest priority is they want to help. they want to be helpful to others. So I found that pretty interesting. It's not 100% accurate all of the time, but it's a pretty cool way of a pretty cool question that I like to use whenever I get into the family conversation. Occupation is another good one. Now, once we get past the "what do you do" question, like what do you do for a living, what do you do for work, and that's interesting. A lot of times when we catch up or when we follow up, we might ask, "What's up?" or "What's new?" Or "What's going on?" And sometimes the basic response to that is nothing much. What's up with you? But once we get better at asking questions and more comfortable at it, we'll shift from "What's up?" or "What's new?" to "Hey, have you worked on anything interesting lately?" And those are conversation provoking questions. And so those are some examples of how we can use these questions to find out big things in small talk. We talk about recreation. What do you do for fun? One of my favorites is if you could travel after we could travel normally again, where would be the first place you travel to? Gives us an idea of their interests, and it also, at the very least, if we haven't heard of that place before, it expands our knowledge as well to looking into it. Because if someone's interested in it, there might be something there that is worth looking into. And that, of course, leads us to the motivation. This typically doesn't come up right away. It's deeper into the conversation. We get to ask and get to learn about what motivates them, what drives them, why they wake up in the morning. And if you can have a conversation with these four categories with someone, you built up a pretty good rapport. And if timing is right, you might have moved that person from a possibility to a prospect, or from a prospect to your top 10s list. So, don't underestimate the power of conversation with form. But ladies and gentlemen, remember, be genuine about it and have a genuine interest in talking about about that topic with them. And last but not least, remember always to ask to stay connected, because it's horrible every time if you have a great conversation, have a good time with somebody, and then at the end of the day, we say goodbye and we leave, and gosh, I forgot to ask for their number. So get comfortable with one of the ways, however you ask it, like, "Can I have your number?" or "This is my Instagram. What's yours?" My favorite is asking them is initiating by saying, "Hey, this was great. I've got to run, but let's stay connected. What do you prefer using most? I like using WhatsApp. What about you?" And that's a great way of getting each other's numbers. And most of the time, if you had a good conversation with them, then there is a reason for you guys to stay connected. The only times where it's difficult to ask to connect, or not natural to ask to connect, is when we didn't have enough time to hone that relationship and have a good conversation, and we have no reason to connect. We're not playing basketball the next time we meet. We're not getting together to talk about movies. There's no connection. So sometimes with those quick and easy ones, maybe the easier method is to go with the shot in the dark technique that we talked about earlier, because that will give you a reason to stay connected, and you'll get either a yes or a no, but at least you've taken the shot. All right, let's do a quick recap, and then we're wrapping up. We're going to have 4 thoughts for you. But the first thing I want you guys to remember, whenever communicating with someone, whether online or in person, remember to give a compliment, because a compliment goes a long way. When we're having the conversation with them back and forth through text, through calls, through Zoom meetings, or through coffee in person, guess what? Always remember to have a genuine interest in who they are and what they're talking about, and be a good listener, and ask questions that'll get them to talk more. Because one thing that we can get better at, we all can get better at, is at listening. So have a genuine interest and don't be sneaky. Um, Third, ask to connect. Remember to ask to connect. Even if I've connected with somebody on Shaper, a networking app, I always ask them. I say, "Hey, I don't check Shaper very often. My preferred way of connecting is through WhatsApp. Is that the same for you as well?" And if they say yes, I say, "Great. Here's my number. What's yours? Let's stay connected." So even if you're meeting someone online digitally, remember to ask to connect, because it'd be a waste if you didn't in the conversation, and then before you know it, a month will go by, 2 months will go by, half a year will go by, and we've both forgotten about each other. And you know what? In the whole process, one thing that I've learned from Shelley Bow, new director in the company and top organizational builder of the year this year, she says she meets so many people that she has notebooks and keeps tabs on them. And it might not be it might be a smart thing to do, to keep tabs on people, to remember what they talked about, what their interests are, who their family, who in their family did they mention. She has those written down in a notebook, and before the meeting, she quickly goes through the notes and brings stuff up, so that people know she's coming from a place of genuine kindness and she cares about them. And that's a stellar tip that I got from Shelley Bow a couple of weeks ago. Now, if I could add one more to add to this list, is that have your answer to what do you do convenient, have it practice, because the worst is if you're having a good conversation and then somebody asks, "What do you do?" And all of a sudden we get nervous, and we start getting lockjaw, or we start saying things that make no sense. And we've all been there before. I know I have. And it's always better when I have a real answer to what do you do, and that's natural, that can help me carry the conversation and stay connected with the person. So that's it. I'm going to leave you guys with 4 thoughts, and then we'll close off this session. But the first one is that, remember, networking is about farming than it is about hunting. A good networker doesn't go out to collect contacts. A good networker farms and builds and plants relationships. So that's the first thought. The second is networking is the number 1 unwritten rule of success in business. It still is today, has always been. It's more important who you know than what you know. What this says, ladies and gentlemen, it is important. And knowing that it is important, networking is a lot like nutrition and fitness. We know what to do. The hard part is making it a top priority. So I urge you, ladies and gentlemen, to make this a priority, so we'll always have fuel for our vehicle, for our business. And this one more for the road. I really like this one. Networking is rubbish. It's garbage. Have friends instead. Build relationships instead. And take that to heart. And I was on a call with Elizabeth Weber last week, and she had said something that really stuck with me. She said, hey, if you can build a relationship, if you can build relationships, you can build this business. And that's absolutely what we do to add names to our possibilities list. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that was helpful. And I look forward to seeing you at our next major event. And I hope you guys see lots of growth in your business by adding new names to your possibilities list.